Good evening. Of all the time bombs in the American economy set to explode with dire consequences, this is a big one. Staggering debt from student loan. And we just hit an awful milestone. Our nation's combined student loan debt has now hit $1 trillion.
The current student debt situation is an atrocity. It is an atrocity being visited on the current generation of students. It's been an increasing problem for the last 30 years. Student debt levels are enormous. People end up leaving out at medical school as an example. Typical person leaving medical school at the present time is leaving with $500,000 in debt.
Oh my gosh. I have seen figures that across the board there are actually 43 million Americans who currently have student debt. The average, so it includes people who have had debt for decades and they're unable to get out of it because the banks are making money off of their growing interest year by year. It's like credit card debt. It's very hard to get yourself out from under.
Student debt is the worst kind of debt. Yeah. It attacks people early in their careers. It involves large sums of money. The interest rates are absurdly high. The banks are getting the money that they're lending to the students at either no interest at all or something on the order of 1% interest, and they're lending it out at 7% and higher. Oh, yeah. Well, what kind of the students are simply being used as scapegoats for Wall Street. Other countries don't do it this way. Yeah. There's no other country that does it quite this way. Well, there is one country, a very misguided country by the name of the United Kingdom, that actually had a very good system of funding its universities, but decided that they would go more toward the American model. Not quite as bad as the American model, but under David Cameron, you may remember there was a major controversy in the United Kingdom where they started to increase the private funds required for public universities. It's a very bad idea. When people are becoming educated, they're becoming educated so that they can do something for the public good. To look at it as simply something for their own profit is extremely misguided.
I thought Bernie made a great case for free public education, is that, why would we want to handicap our kids, our future, and our economic potential as a country to compete with, other countries like Germany, like Switzerland, like Slovenia, which was featured in Michael
many
Moore's
of these
film,
countries, by the
where
way,
it's free, where free
education at the best universities in the country is free. Yeah. How do they manage to do that? What do they know that we don't know? Many of these countries have economic infrastructures that aren't any stronger than ours, or in many cases weaker.
Well, they're not spending trillions of dollars on military.
Oh, that is part of the problem. Oh, and they also have healthcare systems that deliver healthcare to everyone efficiently and usually at less than 50% of what we're spending in our inefficient health system. So we have a healthcare system that's incredibly wasteful. We have military spending that's incredibly wasteful, and consequently, we're doing things like forcing the students to support the educational system. The government should be supporting the educational system because education benefits everyone. I think indentured servitude is the right term. If you're a young person and you're making, let's say, as little as, in some cases, $20,000 or $30,000 a year, let's say you're making $40,000 or $50,000 a year, and you have $150,000, $200,000 in debt facing you. This is the time in your life when you're supposed to be able to engage in some of your most productive work, really get your foot on the ladder toward success, and instead we saddle these people with this vast amount of debt. Oh, yeah. And when you talk to young people about this, I mean, there's this sense of despair. Yeah. Chris Hedges talks about the idea of sacrifice zones. Chris Hedges is a journalist and a political thinker and writer who's been very important, increasingly important over the last 10 or 15 years. Is this idea that certain groups in certain areas of the country are basically just sacrificed for the benefit of big business and the bankers. And students in the younger generation are like a large sacrifice zone.
So I've heard Jill Stein say that if every person who has student debt can network with other people, we'll have 43 million people, which is enough to win an election in the current demographics. So 43 million people get out there and vote for Jill Stein because she has promised to cancel student debt to free this generation from indentured servitude to Wall Street, while we bailed out Wall Street for $17 trillion.
My campaign is the only one that will do for young people what our misleaders saw fit to do for Wall Street not that long ago when they bailed them out to the tune of like 16 or 17 trillion dollars. To me, it's unconscionable that we made this benefit available to crooks, but not to young people who've been victimized by the crashed economy caused by these crooks. I just don't get how that jives with basic human values. Why do you extend these benefits to these predators on Wall Street and you don't extend them to our younger generation? In my view, the right to a college education is a right because you don't throw your kids into the ocean and hope that they are going to be able to swim. You teach them how to swim. Well, swimming in the economy used to mean getting a high school education, but in the 21st century it means getting a college education. So going forward, to me, by right, this is what we provide our younger generation. We provide them with a college education so they can survive in the economy of today, and that is right and just, that we should do that retroactively, given how they have been absolutely screwed in this. And we all suffer for their being missing in action from society in general. Progress is always led by the younger generation, and if they're not here to lead it, we are all dead in the water.
Millennials, progressives, minorities, women,
Old people,
old white guys too.
senior citizens, black, white, and everything else, men and women.
That have been
older
behind.
people dependent on Social Security. Oh, Hillary Clinton, it just turns out Hillary is going to raise the age of Social Security. The latest WikiLeaks on that. She's dedicated to raising the age for Social Security,
Right.
and cutting back on the benefits.
So another reason, don't vote for the lesser of two evils. Don't vote for any evils. Consider Jill Stein. Go to jill2016.com.
Vote for Jill, not the shill. Here in Connecticut, one thing that I've been involved with is a Facebook page, just a little Facebook page with no more than about 13,000 likes, called Connecticut Progressives, spelled out Connecticut, spelled out Progressives Facebook page. You know, you can go there, you can let it all hang out, you can argue about Jill, Hillary, anything that you want to, a lot of different topics. We try to post the news from alternative news sources that actually make sense. A large part of the establishment, and if it's establishment news that's informative, we post that too. There's a lot of establishment news that really doesn't make sense. There's also news that comes in from alternative sources that doesn't make a lot of sense. We try to avoid both of those. So that's one thing you do, Connecticut Progressives on Facebook.